Hi everyone, thanks for watching. I'm Simon from Homesite, and today we're going to be doing our Node-RED Masterclass number 5, where we do dimming of light with a remote. And it's really cool. Let's go! So in this video we're going to take our Ikea Multi remote, but any remote will do. In fact, anything that's got a press and hold function. Now we're going to use the toggle function, we're going to use the press and hold and a single click to do different things with our dimming light. Now I'm going to be using an Ikea Zigbee dimming bulb, but you could use anything. Could be a Shelly dim, could be all sorts of different things. We're going to be creating this flow here, which looks really complicated, but by the end you'll understand it, you'll be able to create it yourself. And if you can't, don't worry, it'll be in the description below. Please like this page, please subscribe to make sure you don't miss out on the new ones. Now let's start taking a look. Cool. So, first of all, the same as we did with our rotary dial, we need to set up our switch node. So I'm going to take a copy of my rotary action, and I'm going to change that for what I've called my multi one. Multi one action. I'm going to put in a debug node, and deploy that. So I'm just going to make sure I've got a record of all of the options that this can produce, including dim up, dim down, holds, toggles, all that sort of thing. So I'll just do that really quick. Okay, so that is a lot of actions that we can get out of here. So I'm going to wire that into here and remove my debug. So first of all, the top one I've got is toggle. Now I want a simple, if the light is on, and I'm going to use the same light here, so for now I'm just going to disable this action here, and I'm also going to disable this action here because I don't want anything to interfere with my light that I'm going to be using here. So I'm going to use bedroom light. If I hit the toggle, I want, and the bedroom light is currently on, I want it to turn off, and if it's off, I want it to turn on. So simple toggle function, and if I deploy that, I realise I've still got this one called rotary, but it is in fact multi one. I can click the toggle button in the middle, and the light turns on, and the light turns off. Just going to rename this. Cool, so that was easy. So the next bit we're going to do is on the brightness up click. We want to increase the brightness if the light is on by a set amount. So first thing we're going to do is check to see if the light is on or off. And I have this one here, third one down, as brightness up click. 1, 2, 3, third one down, brightness up click. So 1, 2, 3. If the light is on, then we are going to check for the state of the brightness. So because this doesn't have a state, this doesn't have a value stored inside it like the rotary one did, we need to check the state of the light as it currently is. So I'm going to take this one, so we need a current state node. So, but instead of looking for on or off, we're going to look for sensor bedroom 1 brightness. Now, we don't actually care what that is, as long as it's got a number. So we can press done to that. So next we're going to bring in a function node. Now these function nodes are coded in Java or JavaScript. So if you've never done that before, it can be a little daunting, but don't worry, I've got your back. I'm going to give you the code, which makes life nice and easy. So I'll walk you through it. So we take this bit here, var, is setting up a variable. The variable is a bit of information stored, a bit like your message.payload or a flow variable. That's all variables within a flow, within a piece of code. So we're setting up the variable brightness, and we're setting it to the incoming message of message.payload. Now, unlike configuration.yaml or any YAML formatting where you put comma at the end, in JavaScript you put a semicolon. Now, we can put a note here as well with // we could say set up brightness and store and set to message.payload. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to take brightness, which has been set to this. Now that means we can handle it, we can do things with it, do with this brightness, and we're going to pass it, we're going to make sure it's an integer. So if it's got if it's a decimal, we're going to make it and round it up or down to the nearest integer. Then we've got a nice little if statement. So this is quite simple really. So if this thing here within the brackets is true, then do the thing between this squiggly bracket and this squiggly bracket, or curly or brace or whatever you want to call it. So if the brightness is less than 205, then brightness, bear with me, equals the brightness plus 50. So the brightness equals itself plus another 50. So the reason we're doing that is we want to go up or I want to go up in increments of 50 every time I hit the brightness up click. But we're saying if it's less than 205, go up by 50, because I never want to go higher than 255, because if we just did brightness equals brightness plus 50, we could go up to 1,000,000, we could go up to any number you like, any integer. But we don't want that because, well, we don't want that. What's the point? We want to go up in increments of 50, but only up to 255. So if it's less than 205, then add 50. And you can say else, so if brightness is not less than 205, i.e. it might be 206, set the brightness to 255. So that's a simple statement, brightness equals 255. Hope you're still with me. Then we're going to set the message.payload to brightness. So we've taken brightness and made that the contents of message.payload, and now we're going to say message.payload, as in the ongoing message, is brightness, and we're going to return MSG, which we put at the end. Okay, so I'm going to call this brightness plus 50. Cool. So we've taken our incoming brightness and we've added 50 to it. Don't worry, all of this will be in the description below. And then, a bit like earlier on, we've got our light on up here. We're going to set the entity ID of this light to the brightness of payload. Now remember what I said about the formatting of JSON. It doesn't matter about the spaces in YAML, but this will think there is an error, so it should look like that. But it thinks there's an error because it's seeing that payload is not an integer. It's not a number that we can pass in to brightness. Okay, so we know that this should work, so I'm going to put that here. I'm also going to put in a debug node just so we can see what's going on for the first time. Here we go. So I'm going to deploy that. So we're starting with our light on. And if I press the up button, you can see here that all this has gone green, so that's gone up to 166. So I should be able to press it again, and it should step up all the way up to 255. There we go, look. So now we need to do the same, but the opposite, because I also want to be able to dim it down. So I'm going to click all of these ones here and paste them here. So where is my brightness down click? Brightness up hold, brightness up release, brightness down, I think that's brightness down click, let's just count. Brightness down click is number 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Fantastic. So instead of brightness plus 50, we want to go brightness equals brightness minus 50. And we don't want to say if it's less than 205, we want to say if it's greater than 51. So if it is greater than 51, it's going to minus 50. Otherwise, we're just going to set it to 1. Okay. Deploy. Oops, just going to change the name as well, just so we don't get confused. So in theory now, we're already on. I just realised I wasn't recording when I did the up step. So you'll have to take my word for that one. So I should be able to click the down, and it should go down in increments of 50. Which it's doing. Until it got to 1. Or I can go back up in increments of 50 as well. There we go. So that's pretty cool. So this could be any button, it could be a single button that you've got, and it could, in fact you could get it so that once it gets to 255, actually it sets it back to 1, and so it can toggle up through. If you've got a really, really simple button, maybe a bit like this one, now you probably can't see it very well on the camera, so here it is, a very, very simple button. It's only got one function. You press it and it sends one command. So you could get it to do that, and you could get it to loop round. So that's quite a cool way of doing it as well. So the very last thing I'm going to do on this flow is I want to be able to hold the brightness up button and the brightness down button, obviously not at the same time, and make it go up in smaller increments until I release. So how on earth do we do that on one of these? Well, I'll show you. It's quite similar to this one, in fact. We're going to check our light is on, which is this one here. I'm just going to rename this one bedroom brightness, and rename this one as well. So I'm going to copy these and this one, and in fact this one as well. And just for space, I'm going to get rid of this message payload because we know they're working anyway. Now then, so if I take my brightness up hold and wire that into this little flow we've just created here, it's going to check if the light is on, it's going to get the current brightness, and we actually want the plus 50, not the minus 50, so let's just take that one from there. And we're actually not going to go in 50 chunks because that's too big. I want to go in, let's go in tens. So I'm going to make this, if this is less than 245, then add 10. If not, go straight to 255. I'm going to change this to add 10. Now then, if I press and hold, let's see what happens. So first of all, I'm going to dim it down a bit by using my down clicks. Then I'm going to press and hold this button. But it's only incremented it by 10. So I'm going to press and hold again. No, it's incremented by 10 again. So we need to set that to repeat that message multiple times whilst we're holding, and then have a way of releasing it and stopping that. So we're going to take a trigger node. There it is. And I'm going to pop it in line here. And I'm going to put it in line between there and there. Just going to shift this bit along. Now, by default, this is going to send one message and then wait for 250 milliseconds and then send something else. So we're going to change this to be resend it every 250 milliseconds. And then we're going to reset that trigger manually with sending a message.reset. Okay? So let's just make sure that works. Deploy that. So I'm going to press and hold. Actually, I'm just going to press and hold once. And you see that is incrementing. That's going up all by itself, but I've already released it. So that's not quite what I want. So we need to send in if you double click in here, it says send message reset. We'll reset the trigger if message reset is set, or message payload equals, so you could say if message payload equals something in particular. However, I'm just going to send a message.reset. So I'm going to drag in and I'm going to put in a change node and take from our message, our brightness up release. So this one here, brightness up release, that one, number 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, comes into here. That's going to come into here as well. And I'm going to say message.reset is true. Call that reset. And I'm just going to shift this around a little just to make it look better. So now, if I deploy that, I'm going to step it down in 50 increments of 50 with my down click. And I'm going to press and hold. So as soon as I do a hold release, it's going to come down this line here and it's going to send a reset, and that's going to stop this from sending every 250 milliseconds. So let's give it a go and see what happens. If I press and hold, we can see that's incrementing, and I can release, and that little blue dot is gone, so that message reset has been sent. So I can press and hold again. See that little blue dot means it's currently running. I can release, and that message reset is sent in and stopped that message from being sent. Cool. So now we're just going to do the same for our down. So I'm going to copy that. For now I'm just going to paste it down there while I figure out which one it is. Brightness down, I reckon that's brightness down hold. So brightness down hold is number 7, yeah, so brightness down click, brightness down hold, brightness down release. And actually, so it's not that one, we want that one to come into here, and brightness down hold can go straight to my trigger node. And you could probably make this look tidier, and I certainly would. So I want to make this brightness minus 10, and that should be a minus there, and if that is bigger than 11, take away 10, failing that, make it 1. Done, done, deploy. Okay, so let's see if we can dim it down. That seems to be running, that's looking good, and I can release, and it stopped it. Down again, 81, 61, 51, stop. And it should stop by itself when it gets to 1. And release. There you go. So now we've taken a multi-function remote, we've made a up click which increments by 50, we've got down click which increments by 50 as well, and we can press and hold and release, and it will stop at the point when we release it, and we can press it the same with down. Whew. I am going to make sure that all of this stuff is in the description below, or a link to it is in the description below, so that you can copy and paste it in and avoid the pain of trying to figure it all out yourself. So we're all done. I hope you found that useful. If you have, and you've taken something from this video, please give this video a like. If you'd like to see more from me, I've got plenty more to come. Please subscribe, and you'll make sure you don't miss out on any new ones. I hope that today has shown you not just these particular remotes, but there's loads and loads of other remotes out there. There's loads of other buttons or features or all sorts of things, but I hope that you've learned something in the way that Node-RED can operate, and maybe given you a few ideas about stuff that you've already got. Maybe it might give you an idea to go out to Ikea and buy these particular remotes. Totally not affiliated, I just like them. So anyway, I've been Simon from HomeSite. Thank you very much, and see you next time.